I want you to look at this slab with me. This slab is an important icon. It's had articles written about it, and it came from a good friend of mine, Jack Young, who identified and reported on this particular coin. We're going to talk a little bit about this today. But why specifically this conversation? It's because I was in another stream. And in this stream, one of the commentators stated that you should never buy a key date coin unless it's slabbed. Trusting in the slab for its authenticity is extremely important, and you shouldn't buy raw ones because buying a raw coin is just setting yourself up for heartache. And I had problem with that. Matter of fact, I still have problem with the way that the issue was addressed by the people on panel. Why is that? It's because of coins like this. Now I have a really neat one that I'll do in another video, but this came from Jack Young. You can see here that it says it's genuine. It tells you that it is an amazing 1796 flowing hair. Now, this is crazy. You can see the various images, and this particular coin is clearly not the PCGS Drake bust that is listed on the site, on the website. It's just not the same one. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But when we look at slabs, I want to orient you to this one just a little bit. I want you to look at the bottom portion of the slab, and I want you to ask yourself, it's a PCGS slab. It has the PCGS little icon down there. It also has the RFID scanning tag. Very important. I did a video on those. But if I flip the coin over, you're going to see something else. It has the RFID scan. And so this is one of those reasons that PCGS has actually done this particular technology in order to prevent counterfeiting. Okay. Now I want you to think about that as I tell you, as I flip this back over, this coin doesn't scan. It doesn't scan at all. It will not show up on the app. If you look at the video that I did where I talk about protecting yourself from shipping these and how to protect yourself in that regard, you'll see that I show you that I can put my phone over the top of it and immediately picks it up and sends me to the image of that coin. This one doesn't scan. Hold on. If this one doesn't scan, then we should probably call PCGS, right? And say, hey, there's a problem. I have this slab and it doesn't scan. And you give them the information, you send them a picture. And what do they say? Well, it's because it's not real. Now, let's go back to that conversation that I was having the other day. They were saying that you should trust in the slab. And that's really bad advice, folks. The reason that it's so bad is you should understand the coin. See, the coin is going to be the thing that tells you whether or not it's authentic. Knowing the devices, knowing the dates, knowing the font, knowing the elements of a coin. We call it the anatomy of the coin. You should know the anatomy of the coin. In fact, you should know some of these very expensive coins extremely well. And if you can't authenticate the coin, now we're not even talking about the holder, but if you can't authenticate the coin, then you should be working with a professional in order to have that done. And the problem with this particular coin is it's extremely valuable if this were to be authentic. But there are some things about this coin that if you know the markers, that if you know the elements, you know those items on the field or around the rim, if you know those things, the holder never matters. See, the holder's nice, and if you have an authentic holder, then yes, they are covered by the entity in which did them. And if it is a counterfeit coin inside of a real holder, they deal with those too. But this is a counterfeit coin in a counterfeit holder. There is no PCGS guarantee on this coin, regardless of what anybody will tell you. Now, I heard them also say, which was foolish, that they don't know enough about this and they shouldn't be buying key date coins. That's a really bad statement as well. See, we should be, as educators in the numismatic realm and the coin collecting realm, we should be willing to connect you to people should you have questions to ensure that your purchase is accurate and just, not calling you an idiot because you don't know whether a coin is real or not. See, that's what we're here for. That's what we try to do. And this is what we try to educate you on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some information with you. And this actually came from Jack Young. Again, he's the person that got this coin. Now, this coin came about with a very interesting story. He was doing his normal internet dumpster diving, looking for counterfeits, and he was on a website that many of you are familiar with, AliExpress. Now, he calls these his Red Book counterfeits. And that's because if you just read the details on the Red Book, you would know that this coin is fake because you're talking about the off-center bust design. Now, in this particular case, it's off-center, but that was only used in 1795. If you were just to look at the Red Book and do your research, you would know that this coin is fake. But there's more to it than that. So we can actually dig into some additional pieces of information. So when we look at the PCGS number, we pull that up, you will see the coin that's listed here. Large date, small letters. But when you look at this image, there's something very specific that stands out. Now, I want to show you the obverse and the reverse images. These are all courtesies of Jack Young. And I want you to focus in on some of the design elements, in particular, the ones that are highlighted here. You look at the date and you can see that the 7 in this, the position is too far to the right. The 1 is too far to the left. You can see that the font isn't exactly the same in the 9 and the 6. You can actually see that there's a thickening and a rounding instead of that crisp nature of the 1796 that's on the genuine coin example. If we were to flip this over, you're going to see some die markers, and these die markers and these little elements show you some things that should be on the authentic coin that aren't on this one. That little die mark there underneath the wing, and then that little baggage that you have there over by America. See, these are things that would be on this particular year. Remember, they only made so many of these. So could it be one without it? Yes, unfortunately, there's too many other factors that tell you this coin isn't authentic. So he decided he was going to pick this up and then notify the seller. There had been a documented counterfeit and that this is what they were seeing. Obviously, they sent back a message saying the coin is real, and they began the process of reporting it as such. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the other discussion I was in, the person said that if it's in a slab, it's protected. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, he was working with AliExpress for quite some time. And what happened at all of his requests, even after he explained that he's an expert in this, he gave the information, he issued all of the information to them. What did they do? Rejected. Sorry, can't quantify it. So they did it again, rejected. Did it again, rejected. So they finally did one more and they said, okay, a solution has been released. There's not going to be any refund available. And so he did what would the next logical step would be. And that was to go through PayPal. Provided them the information, showed them what was going on, showed them the die marker, showed them the fact that he had worked through the Anti-Counterfeiting Educational Foundation, expressed all the information, documented it very clearly. And after some time, the refund of the amount of money that he spent in this back on the beginning of 2025 was issued. Now, obviously, it would take a little bit of time for him to get that, but he was actually able to get that money refunded back to him. Now, there are other ones, and there are a lot of different pieces out there that are like this, that are fake. And I want to lean one piece of wisdom into you. You're going to hear bad information from channels who are apparently the experts at this. And why is that? They've worked in this field for a long time. They just expect that everybody should know this and that it's common sense. But my grandfather always told me common sense is only common if everybody has it. Ladies and gentlemen, what people should be telling you is that you need to authenticate the coin. Doesn't matter what slab it is. It could be a CAC. It could be a PCGS with a CAC sticker. It could be an NGC. It could be a annex. It doesn't matter what slab it's in. You should always be able to authenticate the coin prior to purchase. Sometimes this means you're going to need to do a little bit of research before you buy that coin. Sometimes this means you're going to need to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'm interested in buying this coin. I need to do a little bit of research about it. Maybe you should know more about the coin before you access sites like eBay or whatnot. And definitely don't be buying coins like this from places like AliExpress. Now we know Jack Young and we know why he does this, and he is out there fighting for our community, really struggling to get information out there. In fact, the ACEF is doing a lot behind the scenes. And I know sometimes it's like, Frosty, we just don't see it. But I promise you, they're out there working hard to protect you in this hobby. So do me a favor. The next time you're looking at a coin, focus on the authenticity of the coin itself, because slabs can let you down. All right, folks, take care of yourself. Be well, be blessed, and I will see you guys in the streams. Take care.